What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bios3 Raw TV. Today we're going to do a little synthol discussion, and this is absolutely definitely spawned by Louis Marco's video, or videos. I mean, he's got a bunch of videos about synthol out, and he seems to be very fascinated with why people do it. And I figured maybe we could delve into that, because he said flat out, why would these people do this to themselves? So before we do that, let's do a little synthol history first, because I actually have some experience with synthol. I've used it a few different times. Never to the point like these people that are using it nowadays. You would use it to fill out and round out a muscle a little bit differently if you didn't have that fullness. And that was the way that I was taught how to use it. I wasn't taught to take your arms from 17 inches to 25 inches in 2 months. That's not what it was. So if you back up and start at the beginning, Chris Clark, who was the one who created Synthesize Pump and Pose, which is the original synthol. The first person I saw who had absolutely used it was Manfred Hoberl. He was a German strongman powerlifter who was had legitimate 26-inch arms. And the guy was huge. He was tall, he was big, he was strong. He had kind of a Greg Valentino arms before Greg did. And that was the first introduction. I actually bought Manfred Hoberl's bicep training book because at the time I didn't know anything about synthol or anything like that. I just thought that was his fucking arms. I'm like, he must have some kind of secret. So I went and bought it. But on him, he didn't look weird like the guys nowadays. These guys running around Brazil and shit, they look fucking strange. But anyways. So that was the first, time I'd seen somebody who had it in their arms. I'm trying to think of the first time I heard about it. Maybe when Nasser and those guys were putting it in their delts, and they were getting these weird shapes and lumps and stuff, and I was like, huh. So I started kind of looking into it as I had heard about it. It was Pump and Pose was the name of it, and there was a nutrition shop in Warwick, Rhode Island. I can't remember the name of the place. There was a lot of these little shops in Rhode Island, and they sell protein powders and da-da-da. It's discounted stuff. I mean, it's the coolest thing ever. Where I come from, they don't have them down here in DC and Maryland. But so the guy that owned the place is like, yeah, I have Pump and Pose. He keeps it under the counter. He's like, it's a rub-on oil that will help enhance your body parts. So I was like, okay, fuck it, whatever. So it was $350 for one bottle, and he's like, you're gonna need 2 bottles to fully do it. So here I am at 20-something years old, spending $700 on fucking. So now you can get them for $50. $700 on fucking synthol. Putting this stuff in my arms. He had the protocol on what to do. I started to use it, and I started to notice that it fucking hurt, and it hurt a lot. As the muscle swelled up, the tendon, it's when you train really hard and you get those sore tendons, it's always sore because it's always pulling. The muscle's getting bigger and expanding. It's pulling against that tendon. And so it's not really breaking down muscle tissue and rebuilding it. It's basically just stretching that fucking tendon out. And I think I put maybe about 1.5 inches or so on my arms. I didn't really put it in my tris. I tried a couple times and trying to maneuver a thing like that. It wasn't working. So I just did the biceps, gave it that fuller appearance, and I figured, okay, let me see what other body parts. So I tried a couple other body parts, and that led me to getting in touch with Trevor Smith, who now had his SEO formula by Nuclear Nutrition. Now at this point, you had SEO, you had Pump and Pose, you had Essiclean, which was another product. And there was one other one that was on the market. It was a red color. It looked like cough syrup. It was fucking strange looking. But they were adding lidocaine. They were doing all kinds of different things to these new formulas. And some people I knew were even just taking MCT oil. And they were fucking sterilizing MCT oil and fucking whacking that in their arms. And, next thing you know, their arms are swollen and stuff. Nobody I knew had gotten an infection. Nobody looked like these guys in fucking Brazil. It was completely different. Fast forward to the Greg Valentino era. I personally don't think that was synthol. I think it had to be implants. Because I don't know how the fuck you could put that much oil in your arms. And these other guys in Brazil and stuff, when you see them, their arms are fucking square and deformed. And they're fucking discolored and weird and shit. Valentino's arms and stuff were still round. He still had roundness to him. And there was no dead tissue and fucking none of that stuff. So to me, I don't know for a fact. But I mean, I think that personally he was maybe using synthol with an implant in the bicep. Because his arms are still fucking huge. And he obviously isn't using it anymore. But and he didn't die, and he didn't have any infections, and he didn't have complications. The only infection he has from injecting a dirty needle in his arm, and they drain that shit. So, I decided I actually used it in my delts and made them look fucking pretty retarded. I put them on my side delts, and it, it gave me the width I wanted, but it looked fucking distorted. I looked deformed. So at that point, I said, you know what, I'm just done fucking with this stuff. I don't want to use it anymore. Synthetech actually makes one too. It's it's enhancement oil or something like that. It's actually, a good sterile product. Now Boston Lloyd has his 3 cc's out. So there's a lot of this stuff on the market now, and there's a lot more people using it who aren't bodybuilders, who shouldn't be using it. I mean, I guess bodybuilding, you're taking all kinds of drugs and shit anyways, doing all kinds of high intensity techniques, starving yourself. I mean, you're doing the most unhealthy shit anyways. I don't see why this would be something that, you know, oh my god, it's foreign. Nah, well, fuck, it's just another crazy thing that bodybuilders do. So, you know, going back to Louis Marco's question is, why do these people do it? And these people are not seeing what we see. Okay? They don't see that they have this big, distended purple arm and little tiny toothpick forearm and big fat gut, and the guys are always wearing jeans because they don't even fucking train legs. They don't see that. What they see is just that bicep. They just see that one muscle. Like when they look in the mirror, they don't even see themselves. They just see that muscle. They see the one thing that they can control with Synthol that gives them attention. They're people that do have issues with self-esteem issues. They do want attention, and they're not getting the amount of attention they want. So they, you know, bodybuilders are the same way. They go on all that shit and get 300 pounds. A lot of that is for attention. I mean, it's just self, you know, not self-loathing, but self-satisfying because people are looking at you. People are like, wow, you're huge. Wow, you're this. Wow, you're that. It's usually, you know, they're trying to accommodate for some kind of issues that they've had somewhere else in their life. But the Synthol stuff, I don't think is any different than these people who get plastic surgery that fuck themselves up over and over again. They keep getting surgery after surgery after surgery, or they overdo the Botox, or, you know, there's a girl on this show called Taboo, which is on cable, which I love watching this show, and her boobs are so big, they were like this big, and she wanted to go bigger, and no surgeon would do it, so she was going to fly out of the country to have it done, because she wanted like triple Z, you know, boobs or something like that. So, I mean, in her eyes, she said, you know, I'm still not the way that I want to be. So here you have some guys that have access to oil and syringes, not the brightest idea, but they want bigger arms because girls like bigger arms. Guys, you know, I mean, you see these pictures, there's guys with them going, you know, they're like, oh, awesome arm. You know, this girl's like, oh, awesome arm. These guys are fucking strange looking. So what they're getting out of it is what they wanted to get out of it to begin with. But to try to figure out the psyche of that type of person, you'd have to kind of be like that type of person. You know, I definitely had a big anorexia issue when I was younger. Like 300 pounds wasn't even big enough. I wanted to go beyond that. You know, and you don't even realize it until you step back and go, wow, that's pretty fucking mentally ill right there to be having those thoughts. But to do the damage, you know, like Louis put up the picture of that guy with the black thing on his fucking tricep. That didn't just pop up overnight. That thing started somewhere. When he saw that first little weird purple fucking thing or whatever it was, right then and there, he should have stopped the Synthol and fucking got to a doctor and have it taken care of. But like you said, it continues 3 cc's here, blah, 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 blah. He does the whole fucking spiel. And next thing you know, like half of his fucking arm is rotting off. And, you know, now we're seeing extreme cases of people that the tissue's dying. The tissue's actually dying. A lot of pros have used Synthol. Not all of them, but a lot of them have. None of them have dying tissue. So that leads me to believe that there's something in these new formulas that people are taking, because not everybody's buying Chris Clark's Pump and Pose. Not everybody is buying the Synthetech. Not everybody's buying these legit, you know, pharmaceutical grade, you know, oils or whatever that are in it. They're buying some weird shit that they're getting online, which is probably cheap. Or some of them maybe even doing the fucking, I saw one that was rubbing alcohol and fucking olive oil the guys are putting in their arms. You know, so they're doing shit like that. Yes, that is going to fucking cause tissue damage. So I don't know if it's really from the Synthol, it's from some kind of foreign substance they're putting in there that they think is not going to bother them. But at this point, it gets worse and worse, and we're seeing more of it now. We're seeing groups of these people and fucking fan pages and shit. It's just another freak show that, you know, people are going to gravitate towards who are into that fucking type of thing. But in my opinion, it has nothing to do with what we do. It has nothing to do with bodybuilding. It has nothing to do with fitness, health, exercise. It has nothing to do with any of that. It is strictly a freak show for people that just want to be freaks. BioStraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. www.biostraining.com is a blog. I'm Bios3, and I approve this message, and we're out.